Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I hope everybody's doing well. This is Coach Beasley here with our Photoshop class. We are into lecture number 5 now. So we're 5 weeks in on this. Congratulations, you guys have made it. This is also our check-in our next check-in date. For the check-in, instead of it being a live video feed, which I know a lot of you may or may not be able to make it during that time, we're going to have a discussion question that I'm going to have at the end of this, and it'll be posted in there for you to put in and start a discussion. Get some talking going on with everybody. What we're going to cover right now, a couple things prior to our lecture here. Lab number 2 is due up. Most of you, it looks like, has submitted everything. I'm missing from one person, it looks like. And I'll be starting the grading on the grading process on that tomorrow. So you'll probably see the grades for that. If you haven't gotten lab number 1 in, because I think there's a couple of you missing with that, with the batch process. I'm not sure. You may have gotten that done already. But if you haven't, make sure you get that submitted in as well. Even though it's late, you could still should be able to submit it. If you're having an issue with any of the previous lectures, not being able to download a file, not being able to see something or what have you, please send me an email and let me know so that way I can try to address that and get that figured out for you and get everything squared away. If you're having an issue with anything in lecture 5, once we get into this and it's released for you, you should send me an email, let me know that you're having some issue or whatnot. But again, get lab number 2 done, get it submitted, and lecture number 5 should be released and ready for you to hear my wonderful voice. Okay, getting started. We're going to be talking about selections in Photoshop. Probably one of the most important things you got to be able to do. It's a skill set to build up. You have multiple tools that we will be going through. Uh, this thing is going wonky on me. We got multiple tools that we're going to cover in this lecture series here. And I'm going to be showing you here through Photoshop with a couple of different files on what you should expect to be able to use. Some of the tools, real simple. Some of the tools are a little more complicated. Some of the tools you're going to rely on more than others, but you need to learn them all because the thing about making a selection, you're never going to use just one tool to get the job done, especially trying to get it done and get it done right. You're going to be using multiples of these tools in combination with each other. So you need to learn how all the tools work in combination, especially so that way you can get the work done. All right. So again, you'll know that or you'll see that as we go along and go through here. Um, come on, computer, act right. Um, so this slide here is talking about just some kind of this spotlight analogy that's used when trying to figure out how to use these selection tools. You want to think of your selection as a spotlight. You're trying to concentrate on one part of your overall picture, whether it's on a particular layer, whether it's just this one whole picture or one part of that picture. And you're selecting that area because you only want to affect that, whether it's painting, like we were doing before, applying filters to it, doing some type of color corrective or photo retouching thing. You only want to concentrate on this one spot, on this one layer, and only target that. That's the only thing that you're trying to do. Um, so you're making a selection so you can make that one concentrated area. And when you're finished, you can delete the selection and all your effects and everything are done. And then you can move on to whatever the next thing is. Um, Selection states here. I'm looking at this and just seeing how this may not actually apply right now. And I want to say it doesn't apply right now. This is actually should be about layer masking. With this fully selected is all white, partially selected is going to be somewhere in the grayscale layer, and then not selected is black. And this is dealing with layer masking. This is the next thing that we're going to be doing. So I don't know why this is here. I made that mistake. Yeah, so we'll skip over 4 here. Um, Basic selection tools. You have the marquee selection tool, which allows you to make rectangles and elliptical shapes to make a selection. So you would make the selection, it would be a rectangular marquee or an elliptical marquee shape. You can also combine them together, of course, to make something a little more complicated. You have a lasso tool, and with your lasso tools, you have the ability to freely draw the shape that you want around whatever it is that you're trying to select. And you have different levels of this lasso tool. You have a regular one, which just lets you draw. You have a polygon lasso tool or polygonal lasso tool, which lets you make polygon-based shapes. So a bunch of straight lines connected together to create this polygonal shape. And that will be your selection. And then you have this thing called a magnetic lasso tool, which is kind of fun and it's also annoying to work with. And we'll talk about that annoyance and everything as we go along with it. Then you have a magic wand tool as one of the other basic tools, selection tools, which selects things by color. So if you had the color of a car, for instance, you want to change the color of that car, you would be able to select all the color that makes up that car, its highlights, its middle tones, and shadows included, so that way you can wholesale change the color. So that's one way that you could do it. But it's all that idea works with a lot of different scenarios. And the thing that always with Photoshop, it's not just how the tool works, is figuring out when you need to apply using that tool. And you're going to have a bunch of different scenarios where these three tools and any of the other tools that we're going to talk about, you'll use in certain combinations. Then you have a series of tools called the Smart Selection tools. They are things like the Quick Selection tool, which will select an area quickly based on color and contrast and shape. You'll have object selection tools, which is a different version of that quick selection tool. It's quote unquote AI powered. And what that means is that inside of Photoshop, inside of Illustrator, and inside of InDesign, the AI tool is called Sensei, and then they called it Firefly. So between the two of those AI tools, they can do things like help you make selections better in the case that we're going to be looking at. It's not perfect. None of these tools are ever perfect. That's why you use them in combination. And that's why I'm going to keep emphasizing that over and over again. Where you could select things through an AI system, like Select Subject is another one of those AI systems where it'll try to analyze and look at, like this picture that's right here as the example. If I wanted to select her face plus her hair, but none of the other colors and swirls going around her, object selection tool may work. Select subject may work. Quick selection tool may work. Or it may be a combination between the three to get exactly what you're trying to get. And that still may not be exact because when it comes to like hair, little fuzzy areas like smoke, fire, water that you're trying to select, hair is the biggest culprit. Leaves, grass, things like that. You may have to go to our other tools to further refine things. And we'll talk about that when we get to it here. Color and tone based selections, we already talked about Magic Wand. There's some other ones called Color Range and Select Similar. We may have time to talk about that in our allotted time. If we do, I'll show you an example of using those real quick. It's an argument whether you want to use them or not, because there may be something else that may work a little faster or work a little more efficient. Because that's the other thing about it. There's all these tools here, and you're not going to use them all. Not in every picture. You'll use some in one, and then another picture you use a different set of tools to get the job done, even though you're still making a selection. Now, you go through all of those tools, and you try to go and use them as quickly as you can, as fast as you can, and get as much of what you want selected out. Then you're going to go to this thing. It's a refinement tool. Basically, it's a whole entire interface that'll pop open that lets you further refine the little transitional areas of selection, like hair, like the grass, like the smoke, that you need to try to select or not select. So you'll have the another level of this selection. And this is where going from a Photoshop user to a more Photoshop expert comes into play, because the expert knows how to use all the tools and knows how to combine them together. So this is the next level in the combination. Refining the edge of the hair to make sure the wispy ends of the hair get picked up and they don't get cut off and cut away in your selection. Making sure like the fur or the other fringe areas of a picture actually get picked up like they need to, whether it's by color, whether it's by the shape of the shape information in the pixels, or whatever that's in the picture that it can try to make that adjustment. And it's detailed. So you'll spend a lot of time in this refinement level stage to make sure you get your selection exactly right, because the more time you spend there, the better it is your final result's going to be. Then comes the selection management part. Now, selection management is simply one of two things: saving a selection so that way you can come back to it later in that same file. Give you a scenario. Sometimes when we shoot models, shooting people on location or in a studio, and say maybe they're wearing different clothes or maybe different pose positions, you show all those pictures to the client. Now the client's going to go through and be like, okay, I like this model's foot position here, but I like their leg position there. I like their arm position here. I like their right arm position there. And you end up having to Frankenstein somebody. It sounds kind of gruesome, but sometimes you'll have to take multiple pictures of the same person, the same subject, wearing the same clothing outfit, but maybe they're posed differently in each one. And the little subtle changes of the way they're posed. You'll have to take the arm off of one and the leg off another and put it together and replace, what was there. And selecting things ahead of time, the different body parts. And then when it comes time to move that selected body part with a copy paste or something like that to the other file, you may have to do the save selection to save what you've made, the complicated selection you made, and then later the next day or an hour from now after you take a break or whatever, you'll come back and bring that selection back. So that way you can reuse it now for whatever you need it to. Because again, these complicated selections will take you some time, and you want to take your time and have that time to be done. Quick mask mode. This is something that's kind of deprecated or not used that much anymore because you have other options. It is another way to paint onto this mask, as they call it, to further adjust and enhance your selection. So after you've gone through the refinements, or even beforehand, you can go into this quick mask mode to check your work and then paint away to kind of refine it a little bit more. I usually use this quick mask mode to check what I have selected to make sure I got what I need done. And you'll see that as I go along. All right, let's move on to our next slide. That's just assessment overview with the assessment questions. That's it. That's all I need to show you here in this presentation. So let me get out of this window and get over to our good old